Hello, I am live. Welcome back. Welcome back to Moonshire Monday. Back again. Still haven't missed any Moonshire Monday, so I'm gonna ramble a little bit for just a few seconds because it always has a bit of latency. But stream is starting now. Thank you all for attending. Jeez, I really wish that the latency on YouTube wasn't so delayed. Sorry about that. Hi everyone, welcome. I see we got Regaret, we got Retro Mech. Thank you so much for stopping in. We're back again for another Moonshire Monday. This is the regular show on my channel, or I should say live stream, where I just show off whatever I've been working on. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to go ahead and just get started. I'm still kind of setting up. I think I went live a little bit too early because I am a little flustered right now, but we got David, we got Squared Crocodile, we got Easy Taco, that's my favorite kind of taco. We got Madgan McLean, we got Wartaz, we got Godtrix. Very nice. Thank you all for being here, appreciate it. We got some people on YouTube, got some people on Twitch. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I, excuse me, just don't have anything in particular I was going to work on today. I did say that I'm going to be talking about my AI a little bit because my most recent video just went up. And it's talking about the AI system. How are you doing this morning? Not too bad. Excuse me, man. My throat's a little bit scratchy. It always seems to be. Sorry about that. You ate an orange with the peel. That's a bold choice, I must say. But I gotta hand it to you. That's the first time someone's noticed you in a live stream? Oh, that's sad. But I tried to chat with most people that come in. Oh yeah, I changed these guys to 1 HP because I was testing something out. So I've been trying to figure out what rewards and like the order of events that each of these like little fights do. And this one I decided to just make it so that when you clear this fight, the well drains. So I animated a little bit of a well drain that happens right there. What time is it for me? So I live in the US. I live in kind of near Chicago. So it is 9 a.m. 9:10 specifically. Why is the tree animation weird? Yeah, I would say that it's not ideal. I am struggling a little bit to figure out what to do about this tree animation because it's not as good as like the grass. So if you look at the grass, it looks pretty nice and it's really smooth. Compared to the tree. The tree is actually sprite animated, so it like ripples the sprite or the pixel movements. And yeah, it's a little bit choppier. It's a little bit choppier than this like tweened animation. And the thing is that I'm not quite sure what to do. TK4TK, thank you so much for stopping in. Another good Moonshire Monday. But yeah, if anyone has ideas on what to do about this tree here, because I could try doing some kind of like swaying tween animation like I do with the grass here, but it's just a little bit, I don't know, it's just a little bit different. Oh, it's Columbus Day today. Man, I forgot about that. Well, that's awesome. Maybe we'll get a few more viewers because some people are off work. That's cool. It's 4:10 p.m. for you. Yeah, that, or 4:10 or 4:10. So someone in Italy said 4:10 p.m. Move the shadow under it? I mean, the shadow's under it. Let's see. How long have I been coding for, someone asked. Quite a while. So I started when I was in high school. Well, okay, I should probably take a step back. So if you consider like Game Maker is like a drag and drop coding thing. I first got that book when I was in 4th grade, and I still have the book. It's over on my shelf. And like that, you could argue that's not really coding, but it's like drag and drop game development. So I felt like I got a little bit of a start with the logic side of things. And then I took my first programming class when I was in high school, and that was like a Java class, and that was good. It's Columbus Day. I thought school was out because of the hurricane. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope that I thought anyone that was affected by the hurricane is doing okay. Make the grass grow on how many or how much time you've played. That's an interesting idea. That's cool, actually. Oh yeah, so once the well drains, you can go down it. So down here, oh wow, it is very dark. It's hard for me to see because since I started using the green screen, I have all these lights just blaring on me 24/7. Or not 24/7, the entire time during the stream. So it's hard for me to see in this dark room or this dark level. Did I take away the transitions? Yeah, actually, I think I did. So there's transitions on like big transitions like this one. There's a transition going upwards. But yeah, when you're going from one area like this and it looks basically the same over here, yeah, I decided to get rid of the transitions. Maybe I can bring something back at some point, but I don't know. I think that the instant transition looks pretty nice, and the game's optimized for it. So I think I might I might just do that or keep it this way because I don't know if it's able to do instantaneous transitions. I think it's kind of cool. Why choose Lua for your template? It's just whatever language or framework you like the best. Yeah, it's a lot like Scratch. Or I should say GameMaker with a lot like Scratch. Scratch is another drag and drop sort of thing. You're currently making Undertale? I love Undertale. That was a huge inspiration for me. Undertale made me realize that it's okay to name my game in all capital letters. Because if you look at my Steam game on Steam, it's Moonshire, all capital letters. And I did that. I'm sorry if I talk about this all the time, but I named my game Moonshire like this. And I called it that because if I did it just in regular caps, like Moonshire, I got annoyed because in certain fonts, this R looks like an N. Like N versus R. It's really easy to mix them up. And I thought that it looked too much like the word moonshine. So I'm like, well, I don't want people to accidentally see this and read it as moonshine. So I guess I better put it in all capitals because a capital R looks a lot different from a capital N compared to the lowercase versions. So that's the number one reason why I went with all capital letters for the title of the game. Even though that's kind of a cliche, it's kind of cheesy for indie devs to do that. I still think that it was worth it for me specifically. Number one tip for game devs. It's always just to treat it as practice at first, because I think that it's really tempting to get all these ideas in your mind and jump right into making a game like this, like this game that I'm making here. I think that this is it's like a Zelda game, and I think a lot of people have like that same sort of drive to make a game similar to this, and I would say like go for it, but also realize that when you're starting out with game development, it's like learning a whole new skill. So even if you're able to make something, if it's your first game or your first few games, it's probably not going to turn out exactly how you think it will. And that's why I say to treat it like practice, because it takes a long time to build up the skills. It's like if you were learning a new instrument, or if you've never played an instrument before, it would take a lot of practice before you could start like performing, or you could start really playing all the songs that you want to play. So it's the same with game development, where you start off, you'll probably have to stick to really simple stuff. Like if you just picked up piano for the first time, you'd start with like Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's really basic, really easy stuff. So you download a game engine and make like Pong or something like that. And yeah, but when you make Pong, it teaches you a lot of the fundamentals, just like practicing Mary Had a Little Lamb teaches you a lot of the fundamentals on piano. So it's the same idea. Did you make the art for Moonshire? I made a lot of it. So like the character I made, but a lot of the tiles come from open source or paid asset packs. So I've purchased a lot of these assets. But pretty much every single tile and every single like sprite, even if I purchased it or I hire a few artists as well to help with some other sprites, pretty much all of them do get edited by me in some way or another. Even if you find like the #1 perfect sprite sheet online and you pay for it and everything's good, it's not going to match the style of your game perfectly. So I've had to make adjustments to pretty much every single sprite. Like this dummy here came from an asset pack. This sunflower came from an asset pack. This tree came from an asset pack. But all of these are edited by me to match my style, because like the outlines need to be solid. Sometimes the shading doesn't match up quite right, so you need to adjust things so that everything kind of blends together. Happy you could join the live. I'm happy you could be here. Thank you, Air. Thank you for stopping in on Twitch. So, yeah, I'd say that in general, starting off with game development on an easy way without pushing yourself too hard, treating it like practice is kind of what I tend to go for. The other thing is don't get hung up too much on like which engine to choose, because they all can make good games. The engine choice doesn't matter too much. Adele, hi, welcome. Let's see, T4TK. I did a couple fan art stuff for smaller sprites and scenes. Learned a lot. Yeah, it really does help a lot. Just to make stuff, even if it's like nothing crazy or intense, or just getting a little bit of practice in every day and building up your skills. That's the absolute trick. Rate the current area you're in from 1 to 10. If I would rate this area, I think this area is looking pretty good. The one thing that this area is missing is more people, because I think there's 3 NPCs here. There's this guy, there's this guy, and then there's the shopkeeper. There needs to be more people. There needs to be more movement. I like the petals and the grass acting as movement, but maybe some people walking around would help, or just more people standing around, more people to talk to. And I think that this would turn out to be pretty nice. I'm liking the art direction of these newer maps that I'm working on. How did you find your own preferred genre when it comes to making games? Well, I made a lot of games before this. As far as preferred genre, this game that I'm working on is the result of working on like the same project for a long time. So if I go to my YouTube channel, I'm gonna try and find this. So if I pull up my YouTube channel and I scroll all the way down, so we're seeing some of the recreating Zelda stuff. And here we go. So all the way down here, this illusion of movement video, this is where the project started. Like the game started as a Lua, or as a Zelda fan game, or like a Zelda teaching resource. So I started making this game mainly just to make these videos about like how to do hearts, how to do lighting, and how to do movement. And I used Link to the Past sprites as kind of the baseline. And like I've always been interested in Zelda games. I have an old YouTube channel before this one actually that I made Zelda videos, and I'll show that off at some point. I'm not ready to show that off now because I don't really want to spoil that surprise for when that comes around. But did I abandon the bird game? Yeah, I kind of did, because I was working on this bird game for a while, and I like that game. I think it's good, but there was some fundamental problems with it. It was just hard to play. The controls were a little iffy. The visuals were definitely questionable. Like same with the visuals for my current game. Like at first they really didn't look that good, because that's when I was using like this white guy sprite, and like this looks fine, but it's very generic. And then I moved on to these this updated version with the newer character, and even this one, I still feel like there was a lot to do in making it look better. Like look at this UI. This UI looks terrible. It's so simple. It's so simple, but like the new UI looks way better. Even if it's not that much different. It's not. I wouldn't say that this UI is amazing, but when you compare this UI to what it used to be, it's like, ew, this is hard to look at. But this is I think actually this is the open source version. So there's a open source version of the what is it? The old version of this game. It's on GitHub, and I think that this UI is part of that. The pixels all the same size. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this doesn't look good, but yeah, the pixel consistency is certainly part of it. I definitely tried to use mixels more. I don't think there's any mixels in the game anymore. There probably is. I think different sprites might be scaled in different ways in my game, but I don't use mixels like I do. Like if you look really closely at this hook shot here at the bottom middle, look at the rope part of it. That's a pixel, but it's a skinnier pixel than all the other pixels in the image itself. And like the boomerang's pixels are bigger than the border pixels, and then that's what that person's talking about, is that it just doesn't look good when you mix the pixel sizes like that. And Yeah, I think that that's a big reason on why this looks better. Excuse me. I need to skip this song. I get so sick of hearing Coconut Mall. Every time I hear Coconut Mall, it drives me nuts. How'd you handle the GUI for your game? I'm currently having trouble with GUI. Yeah, I'd say that GUI is a general challenge. Just because, like, you can... let's see, how do I phrase this? Basically, all of this is just custom coded, is why it's so challenging. Oh, also, these pixels aren't perfect. Like, this flotation device sprite, this is scaled up a little bit too much. So I'll have to change that at some point, too. Would you say it drives me coconuts? Yes, Coconut Mall definitely drives me coconuts. So all these GUI elements, everything, all the GUI is completely custom coded by me. All these sprites are custom made by me, and I like how it's coming along, but coding GUI is very difficult. And there are like libraries out there that do all this kind of for you, but the challenge I've found is mixing it back into my own code. It felt like it was too disconnected from everything else, when in reality the GUI needs to mesh with the game in a more natural way. So the way that the UI just sits on top of everything here over on the side, it's really nice. Making an RPG is easier than making an Undertale game on Scratch. I mean, I would consider Undertale an RPG kind of game. And also, Undertale is kind of a complex game. It's like two different games in one, right? You have the overworld where you can walk around. Like, Undertale kind of looks like this game looks, where you can walk around and talk to people. But then there's the second game, which is when you go into a battle, and then now you have to avoid all like the bullet hell stuff. And that's its own separate game. So when you're signing up to make an Undertale clone, you're basically signing up to make two games. And, you know, it's arguable if that's easier or harder than like just making a game like this. In general, any game like this is going to be way more difficult than making something like Pong or Space Invaders or like a simple platformer. But I spent over 100 hours making a single boss fight. Well, that's kind of what I mean. Is part of what I was talking about in my most recent AI video is that it's really important to keep things modular, because I hear you say you spent 100 hours making a single boss fight, and that makes me worried that you're going to have to spend another 100 hours to make another boss fight, when it would be nice if you could just I crashed my game. It'd be nice if you could reuse that code so that any work that you did on that one enemy that took 100 hours, it would Undertale Clone doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a dichotomy in the gameplay. I mean, what makes a game an Undertale Clone? I think something being an Undertale Clone means that it has an overworld, or it has an overworld and battle system, kind of like an Earthbound game, or like Pokemon, where you have an overworld and then a battle. And then Undertale Clone, I would assume, just means that the battle system is similar to Undertale, where it's like the bullet hell dodging stuff. Pass, thanks so much for just stopping in. Appreciate it. So, I actually know about a specific Undertale clone, which maybe Godtrix, you may have heard of it. It's called it's called Athenian Rhapsody. So this is a game by a guy that I know on TikTok. So hopefully this trailer shows off kind of what it means to be an Undertale clone. So the battle system is really similar. The overworld, like, I wouldn't say that the art style isn't really similar, but the sense of humor certainly is. It is pixel art, and I guess that's similar. He's not really showing the battle system too much, but the battle system is a lot like Undertale, where you're like in a box and you have to avoid the things that pop out. And the vibe of this game and the art style and the graphics and the sprites, everything that he's done is super good. Like, he really, really nailed it with the sprites. I think they look awesome. But the game, unfortunately, I feel like immediately gets doomed by people saying like it's an Undertale clone, because that was definitely my first thought when I saw this. Even though it definitely has its own identity, and this is more Deltarune than Undertale. Okay, well, yeah, good point. Either way, I think you see what I mean. Is that like when you keep a style too much the same, I think that people are a little too quick to jump on that. Even though this game has a unique style and a unique vibes to it, it's not just a clone of Undertale. It's way different, and it looks way better too. That's part of the problem with Undertale, I'd say, is that the art style is very simplistic. It was made by one guy, and something like Athenian Rhapsody looks a lot better. Sorry, I keep stuttering. I'm trying not to stutter so much. You wouldn't call it an Undertale clone. You'd call it a JRPG. The Undertale clone aspect is the part where it's a bullet hell, because JRPGs aren't normally bullet hells. The Undertale genius is that it's a bullet hell combined with a JRPG, and Athenian Rhapsody is a bullet hell JRPG. So that's kind of what I mean. What's my 77th favorite color? Probably Chartreuse. I didn't know I had a Twitch. Hi, welcome in. Yeah, I started multi-streaming on Twitch and YouTube at once. Passing in by a few minutes. What are we doing today? Oh, hi, Rick. Thanks for stopping in. We're just chatting and doing what I normally do, which is kind of just doing whatever. Wishlisted, thanks, mate. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm happy people are adding it to the wishlist. I haven't really checked how the wishlists are doing. I think they're doing well, but part of me doesn't really want to pay attention to that because I'm going to release the game anyway. It doesn't really matter too much to me how many wishlists there are. It's just the more wishlists I get, it just improves the odds of the game performing better on Steam. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. I'm new to Unity and can't create sharp top-down movement. Mine is floaty. What advice do I have to make it better? Kind personally don't use Unity, but it's just a matter of tweaking each individual setting. So if you say that it's floaty, that makes it kind of sound like are the characters like sliding to a stop? Do you need more friction in how the characters like stop and move around, or maybe the acceleration isn't snappy enough? There's a lot of very small adjustments that you can make to make it feel a little bit different. And when you say it's floaty, like you know, floaty kind of means something different to different people. But I kind of interpret floaty to mean like slippery, and you know, it takes a while for you to start up because if you're lightweight, you kind of have to accelerate at a slower pace because you don't have as much density. Excuse me. For some reason, my Lua tutorial made you better in Scratch. Well, I mean, I'll take it. That's cool. I mean, in general, like, programming is one part syntax, and the other part is just understanding the logic of your code. And understanding logic, like, it's going to be the same in any language. So practicing one language will help you out with other languages. It's the same with, like, real-world languages. Once you learn one foreign language, learning another foreign language is a lot easier. What engine do I use? I use a game framework called Love 2D, and the language is Lua. Do these text boxes work? Oh, they do. Yeah, they do work. Man, he talks too much. I finished playing Zelda Echoes of Wisdom not too long ago, and one of my biggest complaints about that game is that there's too much dialogue, there's too many characters, and there's too much talking. So I've been like really strict on my own dialogue in my game because like I don't want people to get bored with dialogue. It's just something I don't like. Thoughts on Godot specifically? I think Godot has a chance to take the entire market share of indies. It's setting itself up so nicely by being open source. It's huge, and it's always been good, but Unity recently has been making some interesting choices that have kind of changed how people perceive it. So I think more people are interested in trying out Godot, and I think that's made a huge difference with its performance. Let's see. Have I tried Defold? I have not actually tried Defold, but I've heard about it. All right. One thing I was working on before stream was this little battle that happens here. So what's supposed to happen is... Oh, shoot. Okay, I crashed the game. That didn't work out. That didn't work out very well. Yeah, so what I think I should do... do you guys think that I should put the chat on screen, like in the actual stream itself? Because then it would be nice if people on Twitch and YouTube could see both chats. But I heard a rumor that's against TOS. If that's against TOS, I probably can't do that. But, like Errol, I'm with you. It's nice to be where all the chatters are at, but at the same time, I do want to grow on Twitch too. I like having people there as well. So, whichever one you prefer, absolutely. But maybe it would help if I do show chat on screen. Regaret says no. Yeah, I understand why not. Twitch does not allow for it to merge. Yeah, I heard them say that. So probably shouldn't do that. It doesn't allow them to merge, yeah. That's probably for the best, but at the same time, it would be nice if everyone could see both chats. I don't really want people to feel like they need to be on YouTube. But at the same time, yeah, I guess I don't really want to risk it. I'm definitely not going to stop streaming on YouTube, though, because that's where most of the viewers are, and that's where my channel is, and I like YouTube. So, like, the YouTube versus Twitch debate, the age-old debate, I like them both, because YouTube, I think the video player is better, and I like that it automatically uploads my VODs to my channel in a dedicated live tab. That's awesome. It's so convenient and so nice. I don't have to worry about VODs at all. It's just automatically on my channel. But Twitch just has more fun chat. Like, the community is nice on Twitch, and chat is more fun on Twitch. So it's a give and take. That's why I want to grow on Twitch too, because I like chatting on Twitch more, and you know, it's a give and take. But also at the moment I have more viewers on YouTube because that's where my channel is. How to make random spawning trees and avoid them from spawning over sea solid things. So it's funny you say that, because my game doesn't have any kind of random spawning for the grass or the trees or anything. And I would say that's probably pretty controversial, because what that means is that if I go to, like, this map that I'm currently at right here, or let's go to C3. So this is a little town map. There is no automation with how the grass particles are spawned. It's all manually placed. So if I go back over here, every blade of grass, every flower, every tree, all of it is manually placed by me. And that is both good and bad. It's good because, like, I can specifically place these flowers in a nice spot that makes sense. But the bad part is that I have to manually place everything. Everything takes so much longer. And then if the layout of the level changes at all, I have to start over and replace everything, because it's just so painful. So level design and GUI, someone mentioned GUI earlier. I'd say that those two things are the two hardest aspects of game development for me, mainly because the framework I'm using don't really support it. Hi Eric, welcome in. Absolute madman, yeah, that's just the way it is. It's no big deal. I'm new here. Is this channel? Why did you choose Love2D? I chose Love2D because when I was figuring out which engine and framework to use, I tried out all of them, and Love2D was the one that clicked with me. And that's what I recommend everyone does, is just try out all of them, and if you like it, keep it up. Got to go. Hi, sorry, thanks for stopping in, Rick, appreciate it. What engine? It's Love2D. Am I using in-game tile placer? So it's not in-game, it's a separate piece of software. So what we're seeing here, it's a piece of software called Tiled, and it's third party, it's external, it's separate from Love2D, but it's necessary because Love2D doesn't have a built-in level editor. It's not like Unity, it's not like Game Maker where there's a room tile editor. This is entirely separate from my game's code, and then it has to export and then import into the game code. It's a little painful. And the reason why, like, we're seeing all these little these markers or just single points. Each of these represent a blade of grass or a character or a tree or something small. But it's not rendering it here in the editor. It's just showing this little marker. And that's because it's just a tile editor. It doesn't have access to what the sprites look like or any of the animations or what the characters look like or even what the grass itself looks like. All of that is rendered by my game code. So it makes the level editing a little bit more annoying because I can't see what it really looks like. And it's really annoying with the trees, for example. So like this tree blossom here, I don't know what that looks like. I have to actually start the game and go down over to where that tree is to see if it's in a good position. And it's especially annoying with the trees because the trees overlap with like the level itself intentionally. I want it to do that. But like this tree here in the level editor, it's way down here. Sorry, there's a bug flying around me. But you can see like this is that tree. It's way off screen and I can't actually see on the tile editor where it's going to line up. But when I go to the game, like that, it's showing up here. And that's just a matter of guess and check, I guess. That's the downside of having a level editor that's separate from the game code editor. Oh, why is the tree off screen? It's because if I put the tree, like let's say that I move this tree all the way up here and I save and then I export, then if I come back, you'll see that it covers too much of the level. See, so now the tree isn't off screen, the tree is entirely in the level, but it's just so big that it covers up the level. And so that's why in the level editor, it's moved off screen down here so that it's only partially visible and it doesn't cover up most of the level. Can't you make a program that converts the sprites into the tile editor? Yes, I could. The problem is, so for example, I could make it so that I replace this marker and I replace the sprite for Sprout with the Sprout sprite. But the problem is the Sprout sprite isn't a single sprite, it's multiple layers. So I would need to include multiple layers into a single image, then import that single image into here, because this marker isn't able to render multiple layers of an image. That wouldn't work. It has to take one image, so it just wouldn't transfer well. It also wouldn't transfer any of the animations for any of the sprites. So it would help with something like this if I had like Tree Big. So I could import like a specific sprite for Tree Big, but it wouldn't have the animations, and it would be a lot of extra work just to do that. And you know, if it's extra work to do this, it's extra work just to check it manually. So to me, it's kind of all the same. But the one thing someone also did suggest making the shader editor in game. So someone suggested this. So what I would do before is I would change these values in my code, and then I'd have to start the game in order to see it in action. But someone suggested that I change it so that I can make these adjustments just in engine. So like I boosted the saturation up just now, or I could make it so that the game is much more blue. So I'm going to boost this blue molt up. And if you look closely at the colors, it's getting a lot more blue. Like it's becoming like a big purple neon game. And it's nice that I can change these aspects in game while it's running without having to close the game and restart it. That part is very nice. Allfather, thank you. Thanks for stopping in. Hi, welcome. Leo says, yeah, I thought it was 11% of the game right now, but I kind of thought of that. Yeah, so the percentage of the game is different. It changes all the time. And in the next version of the game, it's going to be completely different too. I'm going to close this because that neon blue is painful. Painful to look at. This is a lot, a lot nicer to look at. Is there a chair on your ceiling? That sounds scary. So, oh yeah, so I showed this for a moment ago, but I had that elevator that I was gonna write down. So let's go to D5. And I think to make this elevator work, I actually don't know how to make this work. So what's the AI conversation? Yeah, actually, I made that promise. I said that I was going to do that. Let's talk about AI. Because that is something I wanted to talk about. My most recent video on YouTube was about AI. Thank you for the hydrate message. I appreciate that. So with AI, really, I just kind of want to talk about what I talked about in my video, which is how I made the enemies more interesting to fight. How many games have I made? Oh, what the heck happened? Oh, shoot, I must have saved. Oh, I did save. I overwrote the save. Let's talk about how I would take over the world. That's an interesting idea. Just put a few million brain cells of yours in a server. I don't know how to, physically remove them and put them in a server. Is it that easy? How many games have you made before starting Moonshire? A lot. I've made a lot of games, but I didn't publish any of them. I published Necrozone. That's on iOS. The Android version got removed. And where did I learn pixel art? I learned pixel art just from making my own games in Game Maker. So Game Maker has like a sprite editor built in, and I would just make my own characters and own designs. And it's just a lot of practice doing that. Why did the Android version get removed? Because they changed their standards on what sort of information is going to be displayed on the Android page for any given game. So as of today, as far as I know, they changed it so that every single game or every single app on the Google Play Store it needs to display a phone number, a physical address, and an email. So showing an email is fine, but I don't want to display my physical address on the Android marketplace, the Google Play Store. I don't want to do that, obviously. This stream is the only one that's made you gain brain cells. I'm glad I have the honor of doing that. While the game is lagging a little bit, I think it's because I'm streaming. What the heck? Do you see that? I'm losing frames like crazy. Okay, it's better. Is it worth learning DSA? How often do you use DSA? I got it. I got the bug. There's this bug that was flying around me for like 10 minutes, and I finally got it. DSA. That sounds so familiar. That sounds like data. Is that like data structures? DSA. Data structures and algorithms. So data structures and algorithms. I use data structures a lot. I think that's very important to understand how data structures work, specifically to your language. So like in Lua, the only data structure is tables, and understanding tables is the most important thing you could do if you're learning Lua. So by extension, if you're learning like Java, learning all the data structures for that is also the most important thing you could do. Eventually, you know. Why not get a PO box? Yeah, so there's definitely some steps that I could have taken to keep my game up so that I didn't have to display my my physical address. I could have gotten some kind of obfuscation set up. There's plenty of other ways to do it. It's just I didn't do it in time. And it's also a free game that doesn't earn any income. So if I was to spend money to get like a PO box or some kind of address obfuscation, I don't think it would be worth it just for a free Android game. What did I say about AI? I actually haven't talked about AI yet. I keep getting sidetracked because I don't know why. Can you still get the APK? Which APK are you talking about? Oh, the Android version? Yeah, I mean, so everything is still working. Yeah, you can still make Android games. The only thing is you'll just need to, in order to publish it, you'll need to have an address displayed and a phone number displayed and an email displayed. And a lot of people don't really want to display that information. Do you have an estimate on how much Moonshire will be on final release? Under $10 USD. How do you deal with burnout? I got burnt out from my previous job before I quit, and I didn't deal with it very well. But it's dealing with burnout with game development. It's definitely making sure you're having fun with it. And that's why I always say that, like, when you're choosing a game engine or a game framework, it's always important to choose the one that you like the most, because if you like working with it, you are way less likely to get burnt out in the first place. And, you know, not overworking yourself is big, making sure you're only taking small steps at a time. And if you're balancing this with a regular job, like that's another trick to it too, is you want to make progress on your game, but working on your game is work. And if you're working full time, it's a lot to balance. So I totally get that. Basically, you have to dox yourself to make an Android game. Yeah, that's basically it. And I was really irritated when I got that message. And also, this is not the first time I've gotten an Android game removed from the Google Play Store. This is the second time. In fact, Necrozone on Android was a different Android game, and then I remade it to be Necrozone. But again, it got removed because they changed their policies. There's so many policies that change on mobile. It happens all the time. Working with mobile in general is very annoying because the standards are so high, and just working with all the stuff is so painful. Yeah, game engine is only a tool. It's true. But some people will like other tools more than others. It's sort of like if you ask someone, what instrument should I play? What musical instrument should I play? And it's like there's no right answer. Like, you could argue that learning piano is more valuable than learning the oboe, but at the same time, if you like the oboe the most, then that's the best instrument for you to learn. You could argue that Unity is better than Love 2D, or that using Godot is objectively better than any other thing, but I just like playing the oboe. That's the end of that's all that it comes down to. And if I like playing the oboe, then I'm way less likely to get burnt out. So that's why I always tell people say the same. We need a bass player, so learn bass. I know how to play bass. So my main instrument when I was in college was bass. That's what I played when I was doing side gigs at the community theaters around here. And I like playing bass. The only instruments I know how to read music I know how to read music for saxophone, and I know how to read music for bass. Everything else I just know how to play by ear. Bro, which tile editor do I use? It's called Tiled. So it's free. Percussion is obviously the best class of instruments. You know, I'd say so. Percussion's pretty cool. Let's see. So yeah, this is Tiled. I'm sorry, I was supposed to be talking about AI. The name of the stream is the AI stream. I want to talk about AI. In order to do that, I'm going to give my Bunyip a bit more health, because I changed it from 6 to 1, and now it's back up to 6. Will Moonshire be mobile? I want to try to make it mobile. That's all I'll say. I'm going to try to make it mobile, but no promises, because making mobile games it's like 10 times harder than making a Steam game. It's so much harder. There's just so many more steps. Yeah, only AI topics for 60 seconds. It's a good idea. Okay. Can I play some bass right now? No, I'm sorry, I can't. I'd have to bust out my amp. And also, I haven't played for a while. For which language is it available for Java? For which language is it available for Java? I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand that question. If you're talking about which language you can use, or which engine you can use Java in, that's like libgdx. That's pretty similar to Love2D. Okay, so the AI. The big update from the video is that the enemies, they retreat, and they have multiple forms of movement. So this specific enemy moves by jumping. It does these little hops to get closer to you. It like tackles at you with a little hop, and then it does those long leaps like that in order to like close the distance or create distance. So the leap is a big step there. Then there's the retreat. So if you watch this guy, yeah, he turns away from the player and just jumps away randomly. And like that seems counterintuitive, right? That he just jumps away and jumps right back. But it's just meant to be a little bit of a mix-up. Because if we took away his retreat, which I can actually show that real quick, I kind of want to show that. The way I have the AI for all the enemies set up now is like I can define this tackle and I can define a retreat chance. So right next to my head, it's 0.5. That means there's a 50% chance that after the tackle happens, it'll retreat. And if I change this to 0, that means that the bunyip will never retreat. And then if I warp back over there, we should see that the enemy will never retreat. It's just going to endlessly tackle the player. And that's how my enemies kind of were before. So actually, he's not endlessly attacking the player. He's endlessly pursuing the player, because you'll see that he does the leap still to get closer. And this is still kind of good. It's still okay. But when there's no mix-up, it's just so predictable. It's so predictable. And that's the main thing that I wanted to fix. And it's even more noticeable. Actually, this is the main reason why I did it. If I summon another bunyip, so now there's 2 of them. They just both do the exact same thing endlessly. It's so boring. So that's why I have the mix-up included in there. When I have the retreat set to 0.5 or 50%. Now when I go there, you love the swarm mode? Yeah, I'll do that in a second. We'll go to here. How much harder is it to make a game with a framework and not an engine? It's certainly different. It is harder because you actually know like how to code and everything, or you have to actually know how to code, and you know that in itself might be more challenging. But it's now that I'm into it, I wouldn't say it's that much harder, because now that I programmed everything, I feel like I have a really good feel of how everything works, and that in itself is huge. So anyway, the retreat. So now he's retreating. And all that means is he's just going to jump away from the player occasionally, or I should say 50% of the time. And that mix-up alone, it just makes it so much more fun, especially when I summon, let's summon 3 bunyips. So the mix-up also helps with, like, you see they bounce all around the battlefield. All of the field is being used. And it's all thanks to the retreat. Like, there's nothing else that makes them do that. And I think that makes it just so much more fun. Okay. In order for me to talk about AI, I have to, like, stop reading chat, and I don't want to do that. I like reading chat too much. Oh yeah, someone mentioned swarm mode. I wanted to do that real quick too, because that's really funny. Are you using Windfield on the enemy for collision management like you do with the player? Yes, I am. Having multiple of them with the retreat makes it more challenging. Yeah, I agree. It does make it more challenging that way. So let's go to here, and I'm going to summon, like I did in the video, like a bunch of bunyips. Can you use fade transition when your character goes to the corner of the camera? Can you use fade transition when your character go in the corner of your camera? Are you talking about, whoa, that looked weird. They were all lined up exactly with each other. Are you talking about when you leave and transition? Are you talking about how you're saying it should do a fade between these rooms? And for some of them, yeah, I do think it does need that, but not for all of them, I don't think. So let's do that bunyip thing again. Will we have debug menu too with the next update? Yeah, so the debug menu actually, Errol, is in the game right now. If you use the Steam demo in its current version, you can do Control-Alt-D to open up this debug menu, and you can like spawn weapons and warp around and do stuff like that. So anyone is welcome to play around with that. I think it's fun to play around with, so that's kind of why I do that. If you ever do the same enemy but different colors, you can change the retreat stat. Yeah, totally. And that's the beauty of the AI system that I set up, is that it's like you have all of these values here, but I could make different versions just by tweaking these a little bit. Like you said, I could change this retreat from 0.5 to 0.25, and now suddenly it's twice as aggressive as the other ones. Or I could make it so that the animations are faster, or like the leap time is cut down to like 0.75, so now all the leaps happen faster. It's really easy to adjust difficulty when it's super modular like this. Like, all I have to do is change these frame speeds to slightly faster values, and then suddenly it's attacking faster and everything moves faster. So that is absolutely something I was considering while I was doing this. We'll have spells. I'll kind of. I'll leave it at kind of. Having it modular is just perfect code. Yeah, exactly. Like, this isn't a game design specific like task. When you're when you're working in any sort of programming job, keeping things modular is really important for anything. Because I worked in web development before this, and that looks so weird. When they all get spawned at the exact same time, it looks so weird. I need to make myself invincible because they're gonna kill me. Is Java good for 2D game development? Yeah, I'd say so. Really, whenever someone asks that kind of question, so here's my task for you, Sangita. I would suggest, if you want to use Java for game development, find a game that uses Java to make the game. You said specifically for 2D games. I would try to find a 2D game that was made with Java. And I guarantee there's plenty of those. In fact, I'll Google search it. Indie games made with Java. I'm sure that I can find a bunch. Oh, let's see. I'm having trouble finding it. Famous indie games made with Java. So actually, I'm not seeing too many 2D games made with Java. Like Minecraft was made with Java, or RuneScape with Java, SimCity. Well, SimCity was 2D, I think. Oh wait, newer versions are made with Java. So if I'm being honest, if I'm being like truly bluntly honest, I actually don't like Java very much. But Java is basically as good as C#. Oh, Vampire Survivors was originally? That's cool. I didn't realize that. Raided. Thank you so much for the raid. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Smalls the Kobold. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate that. Yeah, I was just showing off some of the AI stuff that I put in my game. And one thing that someone was talking about in chat was what famous indie games were made with Java. And I'm sure there's a few of them. But I'm having trouble thinking of like 2D, like kind of games like mine. I think a good task, Sangita, who was asking that question. I love Stardew Valley. But Stardew Valley was made with C# actually. Oh shoot. And come on. I keep losing my train of thought. I keep trying to answer questions and I keep losing my train of thought. Sangita, I would look up libgdx and specifically look up any games that were made with libgdx. Because if someone was going to make a Java game, I would probably recommend they start with libgdx because I don't think there's any other like big name frameworks that use Java. And see if there's any famous games that were made with libgdx. Like Famous libgdx games. And oh, here we go. Look at this. Slay the Spire. I love Slay the Spire. This is an amazing game. And it was made with Java. It was made with libgdx. That is awesome. I'm so glad that I know this because now I can use this as an example. I played Slay the Spire and I love it. So this should be proof enough that you can just use libgdx and use Java to make a game and it'll be good. I don't think I know any of these other ones, but they look kind of nice. So yeah, my general recommendation is to browse games that did what you're trying to do and just kind of follow in their footsteps. I think in general that's a good tactic. Gotta go. Well, appreciate you stopping in, Errol. Thank you. So back to this. Yeah, but I was answering someone's questions. I'm sorry about that. I get sidetracked so easily. Isn't Java complicated? Someone says, kind of. So like, if we're talking about personal preferences, yeah, I personally don't like Java because it has a lot of overhead code that you need with it, like the public static void main strings args. Like there's a lot of overhead, and I've heard that it's better these days, but I still bet that it's verbose. Yeah, like Koi said. I think that that's the main reason why I don't like it and why I prefer C#, because C# was made by Microsoft after Java, and Microsoft's basically like, okay, here's all the problems with Java, let's make our own version of Java that fixes those problems. And the result is you have C# and Java. They're very similar. You can do the same thing basically with both, but I think C# is a little bit better. So yeah, that's kind of the whole thing. No one is so hardcore about the AI conversation that we don't want to send me just talking. I think that's generally the problem, is like, I like reading chat and responding to what people are saying. I prefer that way more than just talking about whatever I want to talk about. Because it's more interesting seeing what people are saying and building off of that. Like, I do want to talk about AI in my game, but at the same time, it's just not as interesting as reading chat and talking with people, because it just leads to more interesting things to say, I think. C# is definitely a bit more approachable. I think it is. I think it is. And C# is more common in game development as well, because that's what Unity uses. That's what, like, Monogame uses. But like we just showed, libgdx uses it, therefore it can absolutely work. It's so weird that I lose frames on sometimes. It's probably because I'm streaming. The AI mechanics would be nice to talk about. Too bad we haven't seen a lot of the AI mechanics. Yeah, so I mean, the AI mechanics, it's debatable on what that even means, really. Because, like, I was talking about the retreats earlier, and I would argue that's an AI mechanic. The decision whether or not enemies should retreat is definitely an AI mechanic. Another AI mechanic that I showed in the video is poise. So if I go to Underground C5, we have this boss that I was working on. It's rough. This is still a work in progress, but one thing that this boss does that the bunyips don't do is that if you attack him while he's winding up, he won't get interrupted. So like if I slash him while he's winding up for his bite, he doesn't get interrupted and I just die. But if I go over to let's say surface D3, oh shoot, I already killed the bunyip. But if I go back to surface D3, we'll see that when this bunyip winds up for a tackle and I attack it, he just gets interrupted. So you can like stun lock these guys a little bit. If you time it just right, you can interrupt all of their attacks. But you can't do that when the attack has poise. So that's kind of another... It's less AI and more just like I don't know, tweaking behaviors to make it more challenging between different enemies. When my journey started to make games. So it was when I was in 4th grade. I was reading Nintendo Power, and I saw an ad for a book called Game Maker's Apprentice, which is a book that teaches you how to use Game Maker, which is a game engine that's still around today. It's still really popular, and I still like it. It's still really good. So I got this book, and I just followed it. And learning from a book, it seems so primitive now. Like, the idea of holding a book in your hands and reading from it and then, like, coding along with it. That's how I learned how to use Game Maker, and that's how I, like, learned how to understand game logic in general. But actual, like, coding, I didn't learn actual coding until I was in high school when I took my first coding class. If you go to Scratch and played Swap Felt Papyrus, it would make my day. If I go to Scratch and played Swap Felt Papyrus, I see. Is that your Undertale game? AI-related question. You use State Machine for enemies, different attacks. Bruno, I'm sorry for missing your question earlier. AI-related question. Did you use State Machine for the enemies, different attacks, and moves? Also, where in the code the enemies know when to perform their attacks? I'll talk about that in a moment. Rated by Dankenstein. Thank you so much for stopping in. Appreciate that. Thank you, Raiders. On Twitch, appreciate that so much. Do I use Game Maker? No, not anymore. I used to. I used Game Maker when I was a younger kid, and it's still really good. Like, Game Maker has just gotten better and better over the years, and that's amazing. I really, really like Game Maker. Dankenstein, how's it going? Thank you again for rating. It's going good. Jeez, I'm so sorry. I stutter so badly. I stutter the most when I'm reading chat, so I'm like reading your message and you say, howdy, how's it going? It seems like it would be so easy for me to read that and just read it, but man, I stutter so much. I'm really trying to work on that, but it's going well. We're just talking about AI, talking about just whatever stuff I feel like talking about. This is the game I'm working on. It's called Moonshire. There's a demo on Steam, but the version that I'm showing off now is kind of a more in-development version. Twitch is killing us this day. I'm here for it. I'm glad so many people are here on Twitch. Appreciate it. Bomberman 64 has the best soundtrack. I love this soundtrack. It is so good. I've used this song specifically in my videos before. I've been following this project for a while. Played the demo a while back. Appreciate that. Yeah. How much does the Steam demo cost? It's a free demo. And the game's not gonna be done and for sale for a while, probably for like another year. So it's gonna be fully free for a long time. There's nothing to worry about there. So, will Lua have spells in the game? So, kind of. What I think I landed on is, so like you can heal in this game by charging your weapon and then destroying it. So like right there, I can destroy my torch, and you can see it like shocks everything around me. That's the extent of the spells, I think. Since a key like theme with the game is destroying weapons, I think that tying spells to destroying weapons kind of makes sense too. And it also reduces the number of inputs I need, because that's another thing I've been challenged with is I like having a complex set of like tools you can use, but I also don't like a complex set of controls. I want the controls to be really easy and obvious while still giving you a lot of options in combat. And that's something I think I've been struggling with a little bit. So keeping the like the shattering, making that where all the spells come from, I think that will work out kind of nicely. I think adding walking NPCs would make the game feel better. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, because if you go to any like specific area with NPCs, it is kind of boring how they all just stand around, and there really aren't that many of them to begin with. So I feel like the idea of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was also destroying weapons. It was not so. Yeah, kind of. That's a topic that I talk about a lot. Is the weapon durability. So Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild has the weapon durability system, right? And in general, that system is very divisive because people don't like losing their weapons. It feels bad to fight an enemy, and then as a result of fighting this enemy, you lose your weapon. And with Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, it would happen over time. Like, just the more that you fight, like, the more that you use the spear, the more, or the closer the weapon came to just breaking. And I wanted to put my own twist on that because having a weapon break without your permission feels bad. But when I'm breaking a weapon on my own terms, like I'm sacrificing it in order to heal my HP and like cast my spells, I think that kind of works out nicely. It gets rid of the durability problem, because durability does need to exist in Zelda, or in the newer Zeldas. It does need to exist because like there's so many weapons you can find, and like it's a big factor of swapping out which weapons you're using. So weapons do need to be destroyed, but when they're destroyed from just using them naturally, it feels bad. And I think that's kind of where the big controversy with those games come from. But, and that's why I wanted to make it so that you don't have to, like, your weapon will never break in my game. But if you want to heal your HP, or you want to cast some spells, that's when you'll need to destroy it and then find a different weapon to use. Godtrix, I'm probably not going to answer that question. Also, part of that has Z in it, and Z is a variable, so I probably won't be able to figure that one out. Or I wouldn't be able to give you a number answer. It would be like I'm not. Sorry, I started doing it in my head. I'm not gonna do it. Yeah, I gotta say what. Yeah, I gotta say your way to solve that looks great. Thank you, appreciate that. I think Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild were both great games. Unfortunately, I haven't played the demo yet. Yeah, I love Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. I love them both. I think they're both great games. But it's still important for me to identify parts of those games that I think could be improved. And I think those games suffer from the durability system is one thing, but also there's just too much pausing. Both of those games, you have to pause to heal. You have to pause to switch your weapons. You have to pause to drop your weapons. You have to pause to attach things together. You have to pause to switch which like relic you're using. There's just way too much pausing in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, and I don't like that. That's what I think the biggest problem those games have. I'm gonna warp over to Surface D5, and I'm gonna make myself invincible, and I'm gonna spawn a bunch of bunyips. I thought programming variables and math variables were the same. Yeah, I misspoke. What I meant was I was trying to solve it like as if Z had a value, but my answer would have had to have been like 3Z plus 98 or whatever. Like that's all that I meant. I would be able to solve math. I'm good at math. I took lots of math when I was in college. But I was thinking about this recently, how I used to be really good at math. I used to know everything. I used to be so good at it when I was in college. But it's been a while since I've utilized a lot of it, especially calculus, where I used to be able to do like calculus problems, but now I can't. I don't remember any of it. And I've noticed that sometimes I will be like looking at a math problem. It's like 21-year-old me could have solved this, but 28-year-old me is struggling right now. So is there a spawn buffer? Oh, there is a little bit of a spawn buffer at the moment. So everyone here would agree that 2 plus 2 is 5, right? Under certain circumstances, maybe. It's just not me, right? I showed this in the recent video, how you can spawn like a bazillion of these at once and the game still runs fine. How about adding a pet, which gives you some stats? Yeah, I think that pets is a really big ask that a lot of people are wanting. And I think that would be cool. Hydrate, thank you. I do actually need to drink more water. I think pets are a big ask. I've been asked, a lot of people bring up pets a lot. And I think it's something that I should add. Maybe like a specific weapon that is like a pet weapon. Or it's like a weapon that summons an enemy and that's how you do damage. I think that would work out nicely because then you can opt out. My thing is like... my thing is I like pets, but not when they're like they get in the way sometimes. And I don't think I want to have pets be a key like mechanic in this game. But if a specific weapon type caters to that, I think that would work well. Why did I choose Lua for my game? Just because I tried out all the different game engines and frameworks, and Love 2D was the one that I liked the most. Like a summon tool, yeah, basically. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Conjuration 100. I love Conjuration. Conjuration was the first skill that I got to 100 in Skyrim. Do you have a video or recommend one where you go through where you talk about how you started Love 2D? How to build your first game in it? So I don't necessarily have a video, but I do have a playlist. So I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna paste that playlist in the description, or not in the description of the chat. So let me find that playlist real quick. So this playlist, it's more than just sorry, that took me a second. Okay, I posted it in the YouTube chat because that's where you were asking. So that playlist is just a series of videos. It has the install guide, but it also has like the coding guide. I'll post this on Twitch too. Come on. Okay, there it goes. Sorry about that. So, if anyone's interested in Love 2D, I think that this Love 2D Basics playlist that I made is a pretty good starting point because it shows you what coding is like with the framework. It shows you some of the quirks like animations and level design. I think that this would be a good thing to go through if you're interested in Love 2D, which is the same engine that I use for my game. Okay. How about adding the state retreat or circle player for the enemy? Yeah, so I'll show that real quick. So every enemy attack has this map of intentions that kind of guide enemies towards completing the attack. So, for example, when the attack is a tackle, you're going to first approach and then attack. And the attack is just the tackle itself. And then what the retreat does, like if I set a retreat to 0.5, then whenever this map gets set, it's going to have a 50-50 chance of adding retreat to the end of this map. So that's the way the retreat works. It just uses this value here, and if the RNG passes, then it adds that string to this list here, and that's just the added intention. Now what someone else was saying is like we could make a new intention that's like circle, or I think I have another one called like gap or something like that, which just means moving away from the player. Lori, thank you for stepping in. Would you mind explaining about self in index? I personally don't use that. If you're talking about the thing where you do like this something, you know, I don't personally use that. I use self a lot, and self just happens when you have like self refers to this en, choose the next attack. So whenever I say self in this file, whenever I say self in here, self is just referring to n. So I could replace en here with self, and it would be the same thing. And you always know what self is when you scroll up in the function and you see like what's doing the colon. So since this function belongs to en, that means self refers to en. And in my case, en is the enemy itself. So that's the way self is working in Lua. I would think what would you say are the biggest advantages of Love 2D over Godot? Well, one is that the language is different, so if you prefer Lua, that's an advantage. A framework in general is nice because you have complete control over everything, whereas Godot is a full-fledged engine. It handles a lot of the overhead for you. And that's good because you can make games faster because the engine is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. But that's also kind of a bad thing because when bugs come up, it's harder for you to figure out what's going on because the engine obfuscates a lot of that stuff. So a lot of the stuff that my game does, Godot is also doing. It's just doing it under the hood, unseen, and you don't need to worry about it. But that's all that's like it's a double-edged sword though, because it's nice because it makes development quicker and easier, but at the same time, it does cause problems when you don't understand something completely. Bugs come up a lot in game development. And thankfully, in my game, when a bug comes up or like the game crashes, it's really easy for me to fix because I know exactly how my game is like laid out. I know all the quirks of it. Sure, Love 2D itself is like a framework or an engine, sort of a foundation. So there's some bugs that I can't fix. For example, I was talking with my friend Wolf about this. I'll show this right now. So let's say that I'm walking around and what would happen, or so actually, I'm not even gonna make this hypothetical. The bug that I'm talking about is if I'm holding right and I let go of right, I stop walking. If you let go of the movement, you stop walking, right? But what happens is if I'm walking right and then I move the window like this and then I let go of the key to move and then I let go of the window, my hands are off the keyboard, but the player is still moving. And in fact, even if I can't even stop him. I have to press right and let go in order for it to work, in order for him to stop moving. And that bug, where it just like moves indefinitely, is a quirk of Love 2D. I can't fix that. I reported this bug to like the Love 2D GitHub, and like maybe they'll fix it in Love 12, but I actually don't know anything about it. I don't know. There's not a way for me to fix it. It's a bug that is inherent to the engine, and I'm just kind of screwed. If I wanted that to be fixed, there's nothing I can do unless I were to like actually contribute to Love 2D open source. And that's something that you could run into with any engine. I'm sure that Godot has some open bugs right now that is maybe it's something different than that. Maybe it's its own like performance issue or its own like rendering bug. There's all kinds of like little quirks that can happen in any engine because it's just a collection of libraries and code, and bugs can exist in any code. So since that's the case, I just have to live with it. And with an engine, I feel like if there's something you don't like, it's harder to fix because it's just obfuscated by the engine. Whereas with a framework, like it's all done by me, and therefore I can fix things, like, if that makes sense. I kind of explained that in a bit of a roundabout way, but it's more like because I'm using a framework, that means I have to understand it better. And because I understand it better, it makes development easier. But at the same time, with an engine, it just does a lot of it for you, which makes it easier, but it could lead to problems down the line. That's kind of my take. They both have pros and cons, obviously. Pixel Code, thanks for stopping in. Hi, welcome. That bug is also in Unity and Godot. It is? Is it really? If it is, that's crazy. That makes me feel a lot better about it then. Because I don't know how to fix it. Like I said, I reported it on GitHub, but I don't think there's any updates on it. How long am I going to stream for? I'm actually almost done. So I always stream for an hour and a half from 9 a.m. CT to 10:30 a.m. CT, and it is just about there. Do you have tips on meeting other game devs that are around my age? I'm in high school. I think that just Discord is a general way to do it. I think that helps out a lot. So I have a Discord server. It's in the description. I think that joining us would be great. But in terms of like IRL people, I don't know. You could look online to see if there's any meetups in your area. For me, I did computer science when I was in college, so there was like a game design club in college, and that was a good way for me to meet some game devs. I didn't make any friends with them. We started some projects but didn't get anywhere with them. But it was a good way for me to meet them, and that might have been a good step. Hydrate. Thanks, Allfather. You're gonna drop out just for me. Appreciate it. Don't drop out. If you had to dump one to save your life, what would you choose? A person, your life's possessions, gold and riches, a pound of touchable grass to touch, or your programming equipment? A pound of touchable grass to touch? I don't think I even understand what I'm reading. I'm gonna go with a pound of touchable grass to touch. I'm okay with losing a pound of touchable grass to touch. That's quite the comment I received. I think this bug is virtually on any game because it's an OS desktop issue. That makes sense to me. That does make sense that it would be more of an OS issue. At the same time, I do wish it could be fixed. The state machine question is still a mystery. Only that we know. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so the thing about state machines is like that's an abstract concept. I could say, yes, I'm using state machines because every single enemy has there's not a state variable, but there is. Sorry, let me see if I can find enemy defaults. I think enemies do have a state. Yeah, so enemies do have a state. But this is all that this is it's just a variable that keeps track of, like, are they still entering the arena? Are they docile? Or are they aggroed on the player? Or are they dying? So, like, this is just a simple variable to keep track of, like, the general, like, situation that the enemy is in. And some would say that this is state machines. Like, this alone is state machines. But I think when you say state machines, you're referring more to some kind of, like, object that's stored in here where you're just calling more generic object functions to accomplish what the states are meant to do. And I don't do that, but I do have enemy actions, which, again, this is kind of like state machines. So the way I have it set up is that in addition to the maps of intentions, there's also a queue of actions. So when the enemy approaches, it's going to queue a few different actions into this list of actions, like moving or leaping or hopping or dashing, and anything that would help it move. It's going to queue those actions into this list here, and then it's going to, like, activate each one as it comes out. I think that there's like a, yeah, start next action. So you could say that this is kind of like a state machine because it's just processing the queue and then performing whatever action that the queue spits out next. It is kind of generic, and, you know, some would say this isn't state machines, but at the same time, it's really similar. It's accomplishing the same sort of goal. Where did I learn Lua? Just practicing it myself. Because once you learn one programming language, learning another one is very easy. Also, I have a video on my channel that's Learn to Code with Lua. You can just watch that. It's a 40-minute video that teaches you most of the beginning, like, basics. It's the command pattern, I think. I see what you mean. Well, we have reached the end of the stream. It is 10:30. I always stream until 10:30 because that is when the restaurants open up. And I am hungry. I'm a hungry boy. But we had a lot of people stopping in. Leo, thank you for stopping in. Everyone on Twitch, everyone on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. It was a really good stream, really good Moonshire Monday. Thank you so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it. A few things that I'm going to be thinking about for next time. I need to stop stuttering so much. I stuttered a lot this stream. I'm really trying to work on that. I'll get better at it, I promise. But thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. And I will be here next week for another Moonshire Monday. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.